Hi, yeah, welcome everyone. Can you hear me? I think so.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just a reminder that the system is opening on September 1st and the report will be due on October 11th. I think that's it. This is an overview for the Telehealth Resource Center programs. So thanks for joining.
All right, thanks, Luis. So I'll go ahead and jump in then. And I saw somebody reached out to see if we are going to record this meeting. So we are recording this and it will be shared a little bit later once we get everything kind of wrapped up. So we'll have the recording out to you all before September 1st when you need to go in and start working on your reports. We'll have this recording as well as we'll share the slides with everyone after the webinar. So we'll get all of the information, the slides, the recording out to you, and some other help resources that we'll talk about a little bit later, closer to the date that you need to go into the system to start working in your reports. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Jenny. I'm going to be walking you through the information today for this new HRSA data collection platform. Again, as we said, this webinar is geared towards the Telehealth Resource Center or TRC grantees. So we're just going to be focusing on your reports and what you'll see in the system when you go to log in to do your performance reports. We know for some of you, this might be completely new, having to do a performance report. Others, you may have done this report previously in the older system within the electronic handbooks within the PIM system there. So I know we might have people coming from kind of different backgrounds, but we're going to walk through what the system looks like, how to navigate through it, how to either upload your report or complete it in the system. So we'll walk through all of that with some screenshots, and then we'll also have some live demos. And I'll walk you through what it looks like in the system so you can get the flow there. Everything you see will be test data. So some of it's going to look a little bit different than you may see because I have some extra reports set up just to make it a little bit easier. So you will only see the performance report for your grant with your information in there. I'll have a little bit of extra information just to make it a little bit easier. But the general navigation is going to be the same. How to fill everything out is going to be the same. So we'll walk through all of that today. If you do have any questions, please put those in the chat box. And if possible, send them to everyone because we have several different people that are going to be monitoring the chat box throughout the session. So please put your questions in there, send them over to everyone. We'll answer some in real time, but then we'll also have time at the end where we can answer any questions that we haven't gotten to in the chat. And if there's time, we'll also unmute people. So if you want to ask your question live, you can do that as well. But during the session, your mics will be muted. So you'll need to use the chat box if you want to put any questions in right when you think of them. Okay, so with that, our agenda for today is to start with an overview of this transition. We're going to look at who's affected, the timeline of when this new platform is going to be live for you all. As Louise already said, it'll be live on September 1st, but we'll walk through those details. We're going to look at how to access the system, the new data collection platform, walk through the homepage so you know where to find everything once you get into the system. Then, most important, we're going to look at how to complete and submit your performance report. Then we'll look at the different approval history tracking so you can see where your report is in the review and approval process. And then we'll also look at how to see your approved performance reports. We'll look at how to handle change requests that you may receive from your HRSA project officer. And then we'll look at the grantee raw data report, how you can see the report, which will also contain information from previous years if you've had performance reports submitted in the past for your organization. And then last, as I mentioned, we'll have time for questions at the end of the session. Okay, we're going to start with an overview of the transition to this new HRSA data collection platform from the old electronic handbooks PIM system that you may have used in the past. So as of September 1st of this year, so just a couple weeks, all of your performance reports created for the TRC program are now going to be in this new HRSA data collection platform. It's a new system. The look and feel is updated. It's going to be easier to navigate through than the previous system, hopefully just to give you a better experience while you're completing and submitting your performance reports. So the ultimate goal is just to make it easier for you to handle that reporting that you need to do in the system for your grant. As a reminder, this only applies to the performance reports created on or after September 1st. So that is for the reporting period of September 1st, 2023 to August 31st, 2024. So we're just coming to the end of the reporting period. And that's why it'll be any performance reports that open after September 1st. And as Louise mentioned, the report is going to be due on October 11th. So you'll have just about a month and a half to work on the report and get everything submitted. Okay, and right now you won't be able to log into the system. So when the system goes live on September 1st, you will get an email that's going to alert you that the system is open, and it's going to provide you a link, which we'll talk about in just a second, on logging into the system. So you can't log in quite yet, but everything will be there September 1st for you to be able to log in and start working on the report. Okay, so leading right in, let's talk about how to access the data collection platform and then how to navigate through the home page once you're in. So again, this is starting September 1st. You'll receive an email with the link to the data collection platform. And that's going to give you a link to click on to get into the system. It's pretty easy to log in. It's using two-factor authentication and login.gov. So the same way that you log into your EHBs right now with your login.gov account and two-factor authentication, you're going to use that same information to now log into the data collection platform. So while they are separate systems, we do have that login information linked. So if you already have a login.gov account, you will use that same information. You do not need to create a new login.gov account. You'll use the same one that you use for the EHBs. You'll just log in through the link that's provided in the email. If by chance you haven't logged into the EHBs in a while and you do not have a login.gov account set up, we do have some help materials that you can access within the help wiki pages about setting up a login.gov account. So again, that's only if you do not already have a login.gov account set up for the EHBs. If you do have that set up, you'll use that same information through the link to get to the data collection platform. Okay. All right, so once you're logged in, you'll land on this welcome page, which is your kind of landing page within the data collection platform. So this homepage, walk through the layout so you know how to navigate through it. Up on the top right side of the page, you're going to have your username link or your username information, and that is where you'll log out when you're done working on the report. In the top section, we have a navigation bar. And so you have a home button that you can always get back to this home page. Then along that page, you have the performance report. So that's where you'll click to go to the performance report to work on. Next up, we have the data extracts tab, and that's where you'll go to get to your raw data report. Then we have a help option, and that's going to take you to the help page where you can get to a user guide specifically for TRC. So it'll walk through everything we're going to go through today on how to navigate through the system, how to complete and submit your report. All of that will be in a user guide, as well as some FAQs on this help page. Then the center of the page just has some information about FORHP, about your performance report, just some general information there. And then down at the bottom, we have several widgets that tie in with the top navigation bar. So you can use either one, the top navigation bar or the widgets on the bottom of the page to access the performance reports, the data extracts, or the help page. So you have two different options. Both will take you to the exact same place, whether you want to use the top bar or the widgets at the bottom. Okay. So now let's take a look at how to complete and submit your performance report. Once you click on that OAT performance report tab, either the tab or the widget, it's going to take you to your performance report list page. So this is going to have several different views and information about your performance report. You can find the tracking number, and this is an auto-generated number from the system to be able to track your performance report. And you'll click on that to actually work on the performance report. You can see the submission status, which is either going to be on track or past due. You have the submission name column. You have a grant number column, program name, the reporting period, which is just, again, test data. So please ignore any dates you see. And then you have your status column on the far right. And that is going to be the status of the performance report as a whole. And we'll talk a little bit more about the different statuses in a minute. So from this list view, you actually have several different options that you can select from the dropdowns. So next to recently viewed, which is the default, you can click the arrow next to it, and it's going to show you your other list view options. You can view approved reports, change requested, in progress, recently viewed, or submitted. So I'll go over real quick what those each mean. So your approved reports, kind of obvious here, but that is going to be the list view that displays any reports that the HRSA project officer has approved and are in approved status. Next, you have change requested. So that's any report that the HRSA project officer or PO has returned for updates. So you've submitted it, HRSA has reviewed and found some things that need to be updated. So they've sent that back for a change request, and it's going to be in change requested status. And you do need to make updates and then be sure you resubmit that to get it back over to HRSA for approval. Next, we have in progress reports, and that list view is going to display any reports that either have not been started or are in progress status. So are ones that you're working on but have not been submitted yet. So those could be not started or in progress status for the in progress list view. Next, we have recently viewed. So this is actually the default, and that's going to be any report that you've worked on or looked at recently is going to be in your recently viewed. And then last, we have submitted. So that list view is going to show your report once you've submitted it, while it's waiting for HRSA to make a decision to either approve or change request. And if you'd like, you can use the pin icon right next to the list view that you're on if you want to change the default view. So say if you want to only go, anytime you access the page, if you want to go to in progress reports, you can click the pin and it will take you right there as opposed to recently viewed. You also have a search option. If you want to search for a specific performance report or date or status, you can put that in the search as well. Okay. All right, so next, once you click on that tracking number from the list view, you're going to land on your performance report page. This has a lot of information, so we'll walk through everything. And again, we'll go through it all in the live demo as well. So up at the top of the page, you'll have a header that gives the grant information, the performance report due date, has details about the grant number, the grantee name, the status for the review, when it was submitted, the report due date, and the current reporting period. And all of that is in a collapsible header. So if you don't want to see all that information, there's a little arrow that you can click right next to that header that will collapse it so you don't see all of that information. Moving down the page, we have the grantee data entry section, and this has all of the forms for your performance report. In the case for, well, so it has all of the forms. You have different statuses. So there's not started, in progress, and complete. And next to each form will be the status for that particular form. So this is different than the performance report status as a whole. This is the status for each individual form. You have the option to click view, which is going to give you a read-only view for each of the forms, or to start or edit, or in this case, also you have the option to upload. We'll talk about that in a second, by clicking either upload or the start or the edit button if you've already been working on it next to each form. Then moving down to the bottom of the grantee data entry section, if you would like, you can generate a PDF of the report. And you can do that at any time. You don't have to wait until everything's finished. If you want to generate a PDF just to gather all of the data that you might need, you can click on that generate PDF button and create a PDF to download. Then at the very bottom of the page, we have the approval history. And that section is going to generate once the report is submitted with the information to track when it's been submitted, when it's been approved, if a change request has been submitted, any of that information will be in the approval history section. So for TRC, you all have the option to either upload the TRC data file, or you can manually fill out each of the forms. You do not need to do both, but you have the option of those two different ways to work on the data in the system. So we'll talk about that as we go through. But I did just want to point out that's why you have an upload button or an upload option as well as the individual forms. So if you, let me go back real quick. So if you select upload for the TRC data file upload, that's going to take you to the upload page. At the top of the page, it gives instructions about what type of file you can upload and then how to upload it for the JSON file, as well as the different statuses. So the status once you upload it can be processed. And so that means that the file was uploaded and did not have any issues. It's uploaded in the system and the type of data matched the system information that it was looking for. Or we have processed with errors. And so that's if you upload a file, but there's some type of error in it. It'll still upload, but you're going to get a message with some errors on there, and you can look at those once it's processed to know what to fix. Then we have in progress. So that's going to show when the file is being uploaded. And then pending is if the system is busy and couldn't process the file. So you'll be notified once it is processed. So all of that information plus additional details are up at the top of the page. As you move down the page, you have the file upload section, and this is going to give you the upload files button. So to upload your JSON file, you can click on that upload button, and then it's going to allow you to select the file. Once selected and everything looks good in the system, you can click next. And one thing to note, there is not a save button on this page. So by clicking next, that is saving your data. So make sure that you click next to save anything that you have uploaded. And again, this is optional. You do not have to upload a file if you'd rather manually enter the information in the system. But if you do upload a file, once it's uploaded, before you see save in that file upload, or before you click next, sorry, under the file upload section, you're going to see the file information. So again, you can see if it's been processed. If it shows that, then everything is good to go. You can see when it was uploaded. You can see when it was processed. In this case, there are no errors because it uploaded successfully. If you want to download the file, you can click the download button next to the file, and that's going to download it for you. If there were any errors when the file was uploaded, it's going to show the file status of process with errors. In that case, you do need to take a look. You can click the view errors option in the errors column, and that's going to pull up a report so you can see where any issues were of anything you might need to update. You can also, again, download the file if you need to. So if it was processed with errors, you would need to correct those and then upload another JSON file with the corrected data. Okay, so that's how you'll go through if you want to upload the file. If you want to manually enter the data in the system, you would click start or edit next to each of those forms from that landing page. And then once you click on the first form, that's going to take you to the public burden statement. So this is just a note to read about the OMB information. As you are working through the data entry, you'll always have a steps option over on the right side of the page, and that's going to help you know where you are in the steps for that particular form. When you're ready to move on to the next piece of the form, you'll click next on the bottom. Again, you will not see a save button on every page, but clicking next is what is going to save the information you've added. So make sure you are clicking next. Do not leave the page, let it time out, anything like that without clicking next, or you'll lose any data that you've entered. So if you remember anything from the session, make sure you click next to save your data because we don't want you losing any information. Once you've clicked next, it's going to take you into the data entry sections for that particular form. So again, over on the right side, you can track your status for each of the forms. It's going to have a green check mark once you've completed a section, and then it'll show you where you are in the process as you work down the form. You can also tell on the form which are required fields because there will be a red asterisk next to the field name or information about the field, so that anything with a red asterisk is going to be required. Then you'll have two columns. You'll have a current reporting period, and so that's going to be the reporting period field where you're entering data. And then there's also a previous reporting period, if applicable, if you've had data from a previous performance report from the previous year, that would be on the previous reporting period. And that's just to help if you need to kind of compare data to make sure you have the right information in there. As you're going through and entering data, if you accidentally have a typo or type in the incorrect format for any of the data, you'll see a validation message pop up and it'll tell you what needs to be changed. So in this case, this needs to be a whole number for the total number of clients served. It can't be 100.5. It would need to be 100 or whatever number is correct. So the system is going to pop up with that error message and let you know what needs to be changed so that you can change that data. There also may be cases where, based on how you answer one question, another question may be required if you enter based on the data you enter. So you'll just kind of keep an eye out and see as you're working through which fields are required. And again, you'll get an error message if you leave a required field blank or if you have an incorrect data type entered in. Okay. Now we are still looking at Form 1. So as you work through the different forms, there's going to be obviously different types of information. So I just wanted to also provide an example of a section that's a little bit different. So not just the kind of normal number entries here. So for part of the section is going to be a piece where you're entering each state and the total number of clients served. So here you'll use the different drop-down menus to select a state, to select a region for TRC and a HRSA region. You'll be able to enter the number of clients for the different types of consultation or conferences. Once you select all those, you'll click the add button, and then it's going to add that state and information just below there so that you can add each of those in. You can also delete if you make a mistake and need to add a different one in. There's a delete option over to the right in the actions column. And moving down the page, you can also expand the section to show previous year's data. So again, just a nice way if you want to compare from one year to the next. If you do have previous year's data, obviously, if this is your first year as a grantee, you would not have any data. But if there is previous years, you'll be able to expand and see that information. You can also adjust the number of records per page. It's going to default to 10, but you can change that if needed. So these are just a couple of the unique types of fields that you'll work through as you're working on the performance report. At the bottom of each page within the form, there's also going to be a comments section. So these are optional, and these would be comments if you want to add a comment that will be submitted when you, or that will go with the report when you submit it to the HRSA PO for review. You can also add files, upload additional files. This is, again, optional, and those files would go along with the report when you submit it. This is different than uploading the file, the JSON file, into that upload option that we talked about a couple minutes ago. So just keep an eye that you would not upload that JSON file in the file attachment section. If you want to use that, you're going to do that from that main upload page. And again, just a reminder, you'll click next at the bottom of each form to save the information that you've entered and move on to the next section or the next form. So make sure you click next. The system will time you out if you're inactive for more than 15 minutes. So just keep an eye on that. Make sure you're clicking next regularly to save what you're working on so that you don't accidentally get kicked out. You know, if you have another meeting or you need to step away from your desk, just make sure that you click that next button so that it saves whatever you've been working on. We definitely don't want you losing any hard work that you've put in. So just keep an eye on that and make sure you click that next button to save your information. Okay. Now, once you've filled in all of the information for your forms or uploaded your file, then you'll have the option up on the top right side of the page to submit the report for review. So this is only going to be activated, the submit button, once everything is complete on, or all forms are complete on your performance report. So you'll have a green check mark next to the forms, and then you'll have the submit for review button. And that's what's going to submit it to your performance or to your HRSA PO for review. Again, if you want to generate a PDF once all of the data has been entered, you can do that from the generate PDF button in the grantee data entry section. Once you click submit for review, you're going to have a pop-up window where you can add comments. So again, this is any comments that you want to send with the report to your HRSA PO. Make sure you hit the submit button on that pop-up window. If you don't, it will not actually be submitted to your HRSA PO. Once you've submitted the report, it's going to move to your submitted reports list views. So these were the different views that I was talking about in the beginning. It started with in progress, and now we've moved to submitted status. So on the submitted reports list view, you'll see that the report is in submitted status. If you want to go in and take a look, you can click on the tracking ID number, and you'll be able to open a read-only view. Once you've submitted it, you're not able to make any edits until or if the HRSA PO submits a change request. So make sure you triple check all of your data before submitting, because once it's submitted, you cannot make changes. And now we're going to take a look, once you've submitted the report, at the approval history and approved reports. Once you have submitted your report, then you'll be able to track the approval history and actions taken on the report from the bottom section of the performance report page under approval history. So you'll have a line item that says submitted. It'll list when the report was submitted, who submitted it, and any comments that they added. There would be a line item if there were change requests that HRSA sent back. And then once it's approved, there's also going to be a line item that it was approved. Again, it'll show the date it was approved, who approved it, and any comments they added. In the case that there is a longer comment, like maybe for a change request, then next to the comment section, there's an option to click an arrow to view and read the longer comments so that they're not the short truncated, just couple word list there. Okay, and once your report is approved, then it's going to move to the approved reports list view. Again, it's going to change to approved status. And if you want to view a read-only view, you can do that by clicking on the tracking ID number in the tracking ID column. So now I mentioned change requests a little bit, but now let's take a look at what those look like in the system. So once you submit your report, if HRSA requests a change, then the report is going to move to change requested status and be listed in your change requested reports list view. So that means you need to take an action on the report to work on the report, make any changes, and then resubmit it. So you'll click on the tracking ID number from the change requested reports list view. And that's going to open up your performance report page. And down at the bottom in the approval history, you'll see the change requested status and any comments that the HRSA PO has added. So the idea is that they'll be able to add comments here so that you can easily see what needs to be updated. In that case, you would go in and either re-upload a new file or manually go in and adjust the information on whichever form needs to be updated. Once you've made whatever changes are needed, make sure that you click the Submit for Review button. If you don't click that button, your HRSA PO won't know that it's been updated and won't know that they need to go in and review again. So make sure after you make any updates, you do click that Submit for Review button. So it goes back to HRSA. And once you've clicked that, it's going to show back up in your submitted reports list view. So it will move out of change requested into submitted, and the approval history will also reflect that. So it would show another line down at the bottom showing that it's been submitted again, and you can track again whatever next steps HRSA takes on the report. Okay. So I know that was a lot of information, but just wanted to kind of walk you through with just some screenshots of what it looks like in the system to get you familiar with it. And now I'm going to log in and one second, sorry, let me log into my test account. And then I'll show you what this looks like in the system. And while I'm getting logged in, I'm just going to pause for a second. So if anybody has any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat so that we can make sure we're addressing any questions as we go. So I'll pause for a minute, give everybody a second to put some questions in, and then we'll pick back up with the demo in just a minute. Okay. All right. Let's take a look now at what all this looks like actually in the system. Again, just a reminder, this is a test system. So a couple things. One, bear with me if it moves a little bit slow. And I do have a lot of data in here. I have a lot of different performance reports. You will obviously not have this many performance reports. You will just have your performance report for this reporting period for your grant. So don't worry when I have a lot of test data in here. It's just to make it a little easier as I work through and we test the information in the system. So I, again, am logged in and I'm on my home page. As I talked about before, up on the top right side of the page, we have our account information, and it's, if you click there next to your username, it's going to either take you to the home page, which is where we are, or you can log out of the system using that account information drop-down menu. There's a search bar if you need to search for anything in the system. And then below that, we have what we call our top navigation bar. So this has a home button, and anytime you click on that home button, it's going to take you back to this page. Then you have your OAT performance reports tab, and that or the widget at the bottom of the page for OAT performance reports is going to take you to those different performance report list pages. Back up at the top, we have a data extracts tab. Again, down on the bottom in the widget, you also have data extracts, and that's going to take you to your grantee raw data report. We'll talk about at the end. And then we also have the help page, and that's going to take you to the help information. So I'm going to actually start with the help page. So I'm going to click on help from the bottom widget. You could also use the top navigation bar. And this is going to take you to the help materials that we have for you in the system. Up at the top, it also has information about the HRSA Contact Center. So if you need any assistance, you have their phone number as well as the link to submit a request. If you need a help request and you want to submit a ticket, and they'll reach back out to you. Of course, you can always reach out to your project officer if you have any questions. And then moving down from there, we have a user guide section. So this is where you'll find your step-by-step guide within the system. There will be a different guide for each of the programs. So there'll be a section for OAT, and you'll see a TRC user guide. And we also have, this is just, again, test information, so not everything is here, but you will have a section just for your TRC user guide. And then we'll also have FAQs in the system. Again, there are many FAQs already in there. Just because we have a test system right now, they're not all showing up. But you can go to this help page to find step-by-step instructions, screenshots, FAQs, anything you might need while you're working on your performance report. All right, now I'm going to click on the OAT performance reports. I'm going to click on the top navigation bar to take me to my performance reports. Again, just disclaimer, I have a lot of test data in here. You will only have your particular performance report that you need to work on. So as I mentioned earlier, the system is going to default to your recently viewed list. So this is going to show anything that I have looked at recently, whether I've worked on it or not. We have different statuses, but it's going to show anything recently viewed. If I click on the arrow next to recently viewed, just to the right, I'm going to get that drop-down menu that shows the different list view options. So I could select approved, change requested, in progress, or submitted. So I'm going to go ahead and click on in progress. And that's going to list all of my reports that are in progress. So these should be anything that are not started or in progress status. Please ignore the change requested one. That should not be there. Again, test data, bear with me. But if I want to always land on the in progress reports instead of recently viewed, all I need to do is click the pin icon right next to in progress reports, and that's going to pin this as my new default view. So now when I click on OAT performance reports from the top navigation bar, it's going to take me to in progress instead of recently viewed. So you can select whichever view you want to have as your default. If you change your mind and I want to go back to recently viewed, I can select that and click on the pin here. And that's going to update that. So it's very easy to select your view that you want to see when you come to this page. We're going to go with recently viewed for right now. So I'm on the recently viewed page. And what's listed here is the tracking ID number. We have submission status. So again, that's either going to be past due or on track, meaning it has not passed the due date yet. We have the submission name, the grant number, the program name, the reporting period, and then the status. So again, this is the status for the performance report as a whole, not each individual field. Up at the top, you also have the option to search. If you want to search, if you have several different performance reports and you want to search for a particular one, you can use the search list there. And again, if I go to a different status, so say I wanted to see any performance report that I've already submitted, I can select submitted reports and it's going to take me and show me anything in submitted status. For now, I'm going to go back to recently viewed and I'm going to find my performance report that I want to work on. So let me go to my performance report that's not started. So I'm going to click on the tracking ID. And this is going to open up that performance report landing page. At the top of the page, it has your tracking number, which again is just an auto-generated number from the system, so you can find it. Moving down, we have the header section. So this has the grant information and the report due date, or the reporting period, sorry. If I click on the arrow next to the grant information header, it's going to expand that box. So we have additional information, the grant number, the grantee, the review status, the current reporting period, report due date, and submitted date. If you want to have that open, you can, or you can click on that arrow and it's going to collapse that header. Moving down the page, we have the grantee data entry section. So this again is where you're actually going to work on completing the performance report. You can either upload that JSON TRC data file by clicking on the upload button, or you can manually complete the information by clicking on start next to each of the forms. You can check the form status just to the left of each of the individual forms. We have not started, in progress, or complete. And again, this is the status for each form, not the report as a whole. Continuing down to the bottom of the grantee data entry section, we have generate PDF. So if you want to create a PDF of your report, you can click on this generate PDF button at any point, and it will pop up a window. Takes a couple minutes, or it takes a minute to load. But it's going to create a PDF version of the report and any data that's been entered. So right now mine would be blank, but it's going to show page by page of the report. Once there's information in there, it will show all of that. And if you want to download that, you can click on the download PDF button, and that's going to allow you to download and either print or save a copy to your computer if you need to do that. So that's our generate PDF button. Continuing down, you have approval history at the very bottom of the page on the performance report landing page. Right now, there's no information because I haven't submitted it yet, but once I submit, that would populate with those statuses that we talked about of submitted, change requested, or approved. So now we're going to walk through entering data. So the first option, again, you have two options. You can either upload a JSON file or you can manually enter the data. So we're going to start with uploading how you would upload the file. So to do so, you'll click on the upload button. And that's going to bring us to the file upload page. Again, at the top of the page, you have all of the instructions about how to upload the file, what type of file to upload. Again, it must be a JSON file. Gives information about the different statuses. And then as you work down, you have your upload button, upload files button. So I'm going to go ahead and click on upload files. And I'm going to upload a file. So once I've selected the file, you'll see that we have an upload files pop-up window, and it's going to give a little green check mark once the file has been uploaded. Then you can click on done. And then the information is going to populate below that file upload section. And once everything's been uploaded, it's going to either give you a file status, or it's going to give you your file status. In this case, I uploaded a file that had some errors in it. So we'll have the file status of process with errors. And then you can click on the view errors option in the errors column to generate a list of what information was incorrect. So in that report, I had a number that was not correct. It wasn't the right type of number. It had a decimal point in it. And so this is showing me which field I need to go change. So you can download if you want to download the report or the error report, or you can just close this. So I'm just going to close it. Again, if I wanted to download the file that I just uploaded, I could download that here. We're going to kind of skip that step for now, though. So now I'm going to come back. I want to upload a good file. So I'm going to go back to upload files. I'm going to select my file that is correct. I'm going to click done. And then you'll see I have a new file added in. And it will hopefully come up with processed. So under the file status, you see processed. And that means that this file had the right type of information in there. There were no incorrect data type fields or anything like that. So everything looks good to meet the basic requirements for the system upload. Again, if you need to download that file, you have the download button. But this means that everything is in the system and has generated off of that file upload that you uploaded. So now I'm going to click on next. And again, this is going to save the information that I have uploaded. Make sure you click that next button to make sure that everything saves. Okay, so I'm going to click next, and it's going to take me back to the performance report landing page. So I'm going to pause right here, give everybody a second. If you have any questions about the upload process, you can put them in the chat and we'll answer those as we go. Okay, we'll keep moving along. So once I've uploaded my file, the different forms are actually going to update to in progress status, because the information from the JSON file that you uploaded is going to populate in these different forms. So what you'll need to do is go in and just glance through, make sure the information is correct within each of those before you can submit it. So we're going to kind of use this step in the essence of time here to kind of show you how to enter data as well as how to check the data. So if you upload the file again, it's going to put them in each form into in progress status, and you need to go check them. You'll see the edit button there. Or if you are just coming in and you didn't want to upload a file, you just want to manually enter the information, you would click start next to each form to enter the data there. So I'm just going to give a couple examples of what that looks like, and then we'll show you how to submit the report. So I'm going to go ahead to form 1 and click on edit again, or you can click on start if you're manually entering the data for the first time. Once I click start, it's going to show the public burden statement, which it looks like is having a problem right now in my test environment. So let me see if I can find another one that shows that. Sorry about that. Let's try this one. Okay, see if this works. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. You will have a public burden statement when you come into form 1. And so you'll review that information. Again, on the right side, you can track what step you are for each of the forms. And then down at the bottom, you have that next button. And again, the next button is what saves the data you've entered, as well as moves you from page to page. So this form has already been filled out because I had already put some information in here. But we'll just go through, kind of walk through what errors look like in a few of the particular fields. I won't do everything because we want to make sure that we have time for any questions at the end and showing the last couple pieces of information. So on each form at the top, you'll have the form name. You'll have that the header, which you can expand for more details about the grant and the report due dates and status, all of that from that collapsible header. If you want to go back to the main screen, you can click on main screen, and that's going to take you to that landing page. But be careful with that because you want to make sure that if you've entered information, you have clicked the next button to save. If you just click back to main screen after entering data, you may lose what you've entered. So just keep that in mind before you click that you've saved by clicking next. So going down the page, we have our different form sections. This is going to be very similar to the type of information that you've entered in the past. If you had had to submit previous performance reports, you're going to have the same type of information as you had in the previous EHB's PIM system. So we have all required fields are indicated with a red asterisk next to the field. And then for this one, this particular example did have previous reports submitted. So they have a previous reporting period column, as well as the current reporting period. So you'll enter information in the current reporting period. I am going to update some of this. So you'll see for total number of clients served, this needs to be a whole number. I entered it with a decimal point, so I put 10.5 and got an error message. The error message tells me that it only allows whole numbers up to 10 digits or NA. So because I put a decimal point, it's giving me an error, and I know I need to come in and change that. So when I moved it back to 10, that information was correct. Actually, put back at 1. So now I'm not getting any type of error message because I have a whole number there that fits the validation check for that field. So you'll work down completing all of the required fields. One section I do just want to go over is that state and region information. So from this section to list the state and regions, we have a state column first. So you use the drop-down menu and pick a particular state. I already have Colorado. We'll do Alabama. Then you have a TRC region. You'll use the drop-down menu to select which region it is. Then we have a HRSA region drop-down menu that you'll select. Then you have the number of clients. I'm going to say 100. That's a free field to type in. And number of clients for conferencing, meeting, or training. Once you have all of those fields filled out for the state, you'll click on Add in the Actions column to the right. And that is going to add the state in there. If you need to edit any information, you made a typo or selected the incorrect field from a dropdown, you can click on the pencil icon next to that field and update it as needed. And then click back out, and you'll click on Save if you did make any changes, and that's going to save the changes that you made. If you need to delete one, you added a state by accident, you can click the delete button in the actions column to the right. You can also, again, if you have previous year's data and you want to compare, you can click the previous year data arrow, and that's going to expand that field. So moving down, we have the comments section. If you want to add any comments to a particular section, that's going to add those. And then you have attachments. If there's any relevant attachments to your form, you can add those. And then I'm going to click next to save the data. That's going to update over on the right side. We can see I've completed the public burden statement and the service utilization section. And now I'm on the organization requesting service section. So again, we have all of the same header information. We have the asterisk for any required fields and then your data entry fields. So I'm just going to scroll down through here, get to the bottom, and I'm going to click next to save the information. So now back on my performance report landing page, all of my field forms are completed. So we're going to pretend that I went through and I filled out all of the fields and all of the sections for the different forms. And once they all show completed, then we have our submit for review button up on the right side of the page. So now we're able to submit it over to HRSA for review. And just a reminder, one more time, you either have the option to upload the TRC file, or you can manually enter all of the data. If you do upload the file, you will still have to go through and just kind of double check that all of the information is correct on the forms to complete each of those. But you don't have to manually enter in all the data. You just need to go through and double check that everything generated correctly, because it will pull from that file that you uploaded. So once everything's completed, whether manually or by the upload, then you can click on submit for review. So I'm going to click up on the right side, the submit for review button. It's going to give me a comment section. So you can add any comments that you want to for the staff who are reviewing. And then you'll click submit. So whether you add comments or not, make sure you click this submit button, because that is how it gets sent to HRSA. You'll get a success message, and then it's going to refresh the page and take you back to the performance report page, but you'll notice that the submit for review button is no longer available because it's already been submitted. So you also do not have the upload or start or edit buttons, because once it's been submitted, you can only view a read-only view of the report. You cannot make changes unless HRSA requests a change. You can still generate the PDF if you want to create a PDF. And at the bottom of the page, the approval history now has a submitted line item in it. It shows who submitted it, when it was submitted, and the comments. Okay, so now that our report has been submitted, I'm going to come back to my performance reports list page. And if we go and select submitted reports, you'll see the report that I was working on has now been submitted. So now it's kind of waiting for HRSA to review. If they request changes, your report would move to the change requested status, and you'll be able to click on the tracking ID, make any updates, and then resubmit it to HRSA. You'll have the submit for review button back on the change requested report. And once it's approved by HRSA, you go to the approved reports list page. Then we have a list of your approved reports. And if you click on the tracking ID, you'll be able to see that everything is read-only view. And in your approval history, you can you'll have that it was approved. You can see who approved it and any comments they added. So this approval history is really helpful because, again, it'll list when it was submitted. In this case, this particular report had a change request submitted from HRSA. You can find when the report was resubmitted and then when it was approved. So very helpful in that approval history section on your performance report landing page. Okay, I'm going to go back to my performance report list page for now. And I'll pause here as I jump back to the slides and see if anybody has any questions. You can put them in the chat before we jump into the raw data report. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the grantee raw data report. This is where you're going to find reports for the current performance period, as well as, or reporting period, as well as you can find data from previous reporting periods if that applies to your grant. So what, I'm missing one screenshot here. So to get to your reports from the top navigation bar, as we talked about earlier, or the widgets, you have a data extracts option. So once you click on data extracts, it's going to take you to your reports page. And this has options to view either recent reports, reports you created, all reports, and then as well as favorites or all folders. So we're going to go, when you first log in, it's going to take you to recent reports, but you probably will not have any recently viewed reports because it'll be the first time that you've logged in. So you'll need to click on all reports, and that's going to show you your TRC grantee raw data. It's only going to show you the reports that apply to you. So you'll see that TRC raw data report in the report name column. And if you click on that, that's going to open the report. You can see a description in the description column. You can see what folder the report is in if you want to access the folder, who created the report, when it was created, and then in the far right, you'll have an arrow with the drop-down menu to either run or export the report. So if you click either run or on the report name, that's going to take you to the actual report. So the report is going to have kind of a summary section up at the top, and then it'll have information for each of the fields that was entered within the report. At the bottom, there is a scroll bar, so you can scroll left and right to see all of the fields. And if you have multiple programs, those would be listed, and it'll also show previous year's reports if applicable to your organization. If you want to view the organization information, you can click on grantee organization name. And up on the top right side of the page, you can click on export to export the report into different formats. So you have a couple different format options. We have a formatted report that is going to give you an Excel version of the grantee raw data report. So you would select formatted report, and then you'll click the export button. You also have the option if you want details only, and it's going to be Excel, and you're going to have a couple different options of the format and then encoding. So you'll use those drop-down lists and then again, click export. All right, so I'm going to hop back over to my system and show you what the reports look like. So again, I'm going to click on data extracts from the top navigation bar. And this is going to take us to that report page. I've viewed this one before, so it's coming up in my recently viewed reports. Again, this is going to be the default. If it was the first time I had come in, this is going to be blank, and I'd click on all reports. And that's going to bring up any reports that apply to me. So I have, again, my report name, which is the OAT TRC grantee raw data report. We have our description of what information is in the report. We have the folder, who created it, when it was created, and then on the far right, you have your drop down to either run the report or export it. I'm going to click on the report name. And that is going to open my report. So we'll see that we have up at the top, the report name. We have a summary of some of the information there. And then moving down, we have all of the grantee raw data report information. So you can see collection start dates, program name, collection end date, grant information, all of the different columns related to this grantee raw data report. You keep scrolling at the very bottom, we have the scroll bar from left to right, where you can scroll to find the tracking ID. So if you want to open the particular report, this would take you to that landing page that we were working off of. You can click on tracking ID from the column there to go to that landing page. And you can keep scrolling again to see all of the data that was entered for that report. If you want to export it, you can use the export button on the top right side of the page. And that's going to bring up the options of a formatted report, which is going to be in Excel, or the details only, where you have a couple different options, different Excel formats, comma delimited, or encoding, and you can select whichever option you want, and then you would click export. So if you do formatted report, it's just going to download that Excel version. I'm not going to do it right now because it takes a few minutes to generate, but it would generate an Excel version for you. You just click the export button. I'm going to go ahead and close that out and click the little X up on the top right side of the pop-up window. So that is all of the information on the system. So we've looked at how to navigate through the homepage. We've looked at your performance report, how to see the different statuses, how to complete it, either through upload or manual data entry. And then we also have our data extracts and our help options. Can't forget about our help options. I'm gonna jump back to the slides. We have just a couple important reminders and then a couple resources to help you. And then please put any questions you have in the chat box. So we'll answer any of those. We'll have probably about 15 minutes or so to answer questions. So please make sure you put questions in there, or we'll allow you to unmute once we finish up these last couple slides. So important reminders. The first reminder is that you do not need to manually enter data and upload the JSON file. You can select which one you want to do. If you upload the JSON file, you'll just need to verify that the information is correct. That pulls from that JSON file into the forms. Or if you want to manually enter the data, you will just click through each of the forms as we looked through today and enter all of the required data fields and save the information. The data, again, does not autosave in the system. So make sure you're clicking that next button on each page to save your work. So there's not going to be a save button. It doesn't auto save. Make sure you click next. If you have to step away from your computer or anything like that, just make sure you click next. Even if you're not done, you can come back in and continue working on the data entry whenever you need to. On that same note, the system will time out after 15 minutes of inactivity, and anything that hasn't been saved yet will not save in the system. So make sure you're keeping an eye on the time, and just as an extra precaution, click next. Make sure you save everything so you don't lose it if you have to step away from your computer. Again, on the form, if you're manually entering the data, all of the required fields are going to be indicated with an asterisk next to the field label, so you know what is required. After you submit your report, you cannot make any edits, so make sure you double and triple check all of the data to make sure the numbers are correct, the information is all there before you submit the report. So the only way you can change information or update anything after submitting is if your HRSA PO request changes, and then you can go in and update information. If you do get a change request, make sure you update that and resubmit the information, resubmit the report to your HRSA PO again, because it will not automatically go back to them. You'll have to resubmit. And make sure you're getting all of that in before that October 11th due date. All right, and last we have some helpful resources. Again, in that help link within the system, there's going to be a step-by-step guide that goes over everything I talked about, with screenshots, with instructions, helpful tips, and reminders within the help section. You also will have FAQs about completing your report, submitting your report, any questions that may come up. We are constantly adding FAQs there. We have the contact information here for the login.gov customer support team. So if you have any questions or issues logging into the system using your login.gov account, you can reach out directly to the login.gov team. They can help you if there's any issues with your login.gov account. Also have the information here for the HRSA customer support team. Again, any questions related to your performance report, within the data collection platform, you can reach out to them if you have any issues. We have their phone number as well as a quick link to get to their kind of question submission form. And your project officers are always there to help you as well. If you have questions about your grant, the performance report, what type of data you need to enter, you can reach out to your project officer directly. And we will share all of these slides with you after the session today, as well as the recording. So we'll get that out to you, both the slides and the recording before or right around September 1st, when your performance report is going to open and you can get into the system. And that is everything that we wanted to cover. I know it's a lot of information, so we wanted to leave plenty of time if you have questions or would like me to show something else again in the system. If you weren't clear on something, please go ahead, put questions in, or at this point, if you want to unmute, I think we can allow that as well. I think our Zoom team can set it so people can unmute. So right now, I don't see any questions in the chat. So if you do have questions, please put them there, or again, you can just unmute and ask any questions. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions pop up. Oh, I see a question now. So right now, this is just the performance report that's in this new data collection platform. Any other reports that you may have are still going to be in the electronic handbooks in the system that you've been using. That's a great question. It's just the performance report. while we're waiting to see if any other questions come through, if there's anything Louise or Alex or anyone else from HRSA that you'd like to bring up as a reminder or have me show again, please let me know. Okay, we'll do one last call. Any questions or anything you want me to show again? It's a new system, so there are no silly questions. All right, well, it doesn't seem like there's any other questions right now. So if you do have questions later on, or once you're in the system, when it opens on September 1st, you can always refer to those FAQs or the user guide in the help tab there, or you can always reach out to your project officer. If you think of a question down the road, or once you're in your report, feel free to reach out to them or use those help resources. So thank you, everyone. Hopefully this helps you so you're comfortable when you go to log into the system and start working on your performance report on the 1st. And thanks for joining us. Again, we'll share the slides and the recording once they're ready. So you have all of those additional resources when you're working on your performance report. So thank you and have a great day.